Hi, students. I believe that you can hear my voice properly, if I'm not mistaken. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if my voice is audible from your end today? Yeah, I believe so. I believe so. So can I go ahead with the session? Yeah, I think we can go ahead with the session. So, students, as we have already discussed, I think you are very much aware, students. We have done the internal, that is the induction session, the industry session. And today we are effectively focusing on the SWOT analysis, where we are doing our positioning audit using the information given in the case study. Now, the first thing, students, for your understanding is the news report, Well and Business Daily. So if you observe here, electric car sales remain low in Welland. So that is one main factor that we are observing. So students, if you can remember that our business, we are effectively focusing on selling the cars which use internal combustion engines, that is diesel and petrol. So effectively, we are using the car which is effectively using diesel and petrol for your understanding. So students, if I'm not mistaken, just to give you the idea, since we are using the diesel and petrol car, in case if there is a electric car coming to our country, we will effectively have a bigger challenge. So students, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just come into that. So I'll write down a thread, students, if I'm not mistaken. The electric cars, what is that, students? The electric cars market emerging in I can say Welland. So that is one thing that you have to keep in mind. The electric cars emerges in Welland. That is a threat because we are currently doing this. And also you can see an opportunity also in that. Introduce electric car. Introduce electric car. You have the optimistic view and the pessimistic view also. You can introduce electric car, then there can be a situation of something called the first mover advantage you may have in the market, students. That is one thing. But another thing is, in case if someone comes with an electric car, suppose if the government comes with the electric cars, then it will be a big challenge for us. And then students, another opportunity we have is charging ports can be charging ports. We can effectively have charging ports in locations. The reason why I'm saying charging ports can be in our locations is, can you remember, students, if I'm not mistaken, we effectively have the number of locations. I think I'll just guide you, students, that if I'm not mistaken, in our case study, our organization currently, the number of outlets we have, if I'm not mistaken, 214. So currently we have how many outlets, students, if I'm not mistaken? We have effectively 214 outlets. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. So we have 214 students outlets at the moment. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? That means in 214 outlets, we can effectively have charging ports also. So that our customers, they can charge their vehicles in that area. Because if I'm not mistaken, students, the duration, I'll just give you, if I'm not mistaken, 170 kilometers. That means for one charge, the vehicle can travel for 170 kilometers. I believe that everyone has got that clarity behind that, students. So that is one opportunity we have at the moment, students. So can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box? Because these are the business proposals that can come into your examination for your idea. Now, students, I need to come to the next one so that it will be even better and easier for you all to understand. Opportunities these are, and now I'll just move towards the next one. That is, if you see the motoring column, don't overpay for vehicle checks. Now, this one is a very risky article. The reason is, students, vehicle checking is not easy because students now they have electronic dashboards to check the vehicle, but it's not 100% accurate like the mechanic doing the checking. The biggest risk that can happen is, in case if the data is wrong, it can end up in an accident. So in case if there is an accident, your organization will effectively face the loss. I believe that is very clear for the students at the moment. Now, students, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just write down a thread. The softwares used for inspection presenting wrong data. Presenting what, students? Wrong data. The software used for inspection presenting wrong data. In that case, students, if I'm not mistaken, there can be accidents taking place. There can be accidents, what, students? Taking place. Correct, no, students? If I'm not mistaken, there can be accidents taking place also. So there is nothing to worry in that aspect. That is very, very, very clear for you all at the moment. I believe that is very clear at the moment. So this is a major risk, students. So if I'm not mistaken, in your case study, there is an area called risk. Now the risk, what you are going to get is, students, it's not going to be the risk area as usual. So I'll write down here risk section. So I'll write down here, students, risk section may be effectively focusing on these students, because there are chances that electric dashboard can show something wrong also. That is one more risk that we can face. Now, students, coming to the next one, if I'm not mistaken, motoring column, what's the total cost when you specify a new car? Now, students, if I'm not mistaken, I'll just give you an idea of what this article is effectively saying. This article is helping us to understand the price differentiation of a car. The car's price will be effectively different based on the brand and the trim model. Now, trim model means the engine capacity. 1000 cc, 1500 cc, price difference is there. Then the other one is exteriors, just how the outlooks look. That also price is there. And the other one, if I'm not mistaken, for your understanding, we effectively say is the seat. For leather seat, there is a separate price. For fabric seat, there is a separate price. And the next one is the car color. If you want any colors that is specified for you, you need to pay extra cost. So students, what I understood in this case is there is an opportunity. Since there are many trim options, what, students? Many trim options to the customer, there can be online websites with customization feature. With what, students? With customization feature. Students, do you agree with me with customization feature? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? Can there be a customization feature coming there? Of course, students, there can be customization feature coming here. And I can write down here personalization, because these are digital strategies that we can effectively focus on, because we have a website, but our website is only showing 20 photographs of the car up there and there. But our website doesn't have the option on the web page giving the items what you have to select. Can I get a confirmation there, students? Are you understanding how that application works there? Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students? Because this is how you have to start thinking, students. Your thinking needs to be very much aligned towards the business. Excellent. Thank you very much, students. Now, students, coming to the next one, if you observe, just to give you the idea is the motoring column. Don't forget to have your car service regularly. Now, students, if I'm not mistaken, this is again giving you the idea on how the cars need to be served regularly. So if I'm not mistaken, students, there is one weakness. Price mechanism is there for certain brands, maximum price for certain brands. Example, in this case, Bata Motors, they have a price. Now, can you remember one of our major weakness is over-dependence on whom, students? Over-dependence on whom, students? Over-dependence on Bata Motors. Can you remember, students, Bata Motors? We are over-dependent on. Do you agree with me, students? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? We are more dependent on the Bata Motors. Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students? Thank you. So I believe that it is giving you a better clarity at the moment, because that is one weakness. The price control mechanism is there, if I'm not mistaken. So that is one weakness that we can observe from that article, because anyway, students, the servicing we are doing that service, and we can sell also, and we are doing that also, if I'm not mistaken. Now, students, coming to the next one, don't be afraid to buy X demonstrators. Now, students, here we need to make sure there is a communication. Now, there are two cars. One car is known as demonstrator cars that you will see for test driving people use. The other car, we call it as courtesy car. Courtesy car means, students, these cars are effectively used when you are giving your main car for service function. I believe that is very, very clear for you at the moment, students. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you got that? Now, the biggest problem with this car is people have a misconception that this car will be having some repairs in case if we buy that. So instead of preparing that, we effectively go with the other aspects also. So I believe it is very, 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 very clear for you all at the moment. So in this case, students, what I have to effectively say, it's not so difficult. What I have to effectively say is a very basic thing. In simple language, students, I can effectively say opportunity, make sure the visibility of how the courtesy car and demonstrator car can be used. Demonstrator car can be what, students? Can be what, students, used. So I can just say customer reviews. You can effectively write customer reviews, and also blogs. You can help the blogs by giving some commissions to them, and they will effectively start doing the promotions also. Are you understanding that point of view, students? That needs to be very, 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 very clear for you all at the moment. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are understanding that point of view very, very well? Excellent. Thank you very much, students. Perfect. Perfect. Now, students, the next thing, if I'm not mistaken, I have to come closer is the blogs. Because, students, if I'm not mistaken, the blogs is focusing on one thing common. The one thing common is selling price and discount. So here, these blogs are effectively generally used for by the users to understand how can they exploit the price variation from the dealers, because certain cars are effectively having the same price. So effectively, people will try to make sure that there is a connection between each end. I believe that is very, very clear for you all, students, at the moment. Now, students, if I'm not mistaken, let's start doing the analysis. It's not so complicated, students. So if you observe the first thing, if I'm not mistaken, is one customer is saying they got $500 as a discount on a deal, but the other customer is saying that they don't give discounts also. So in this case, students, I can effectively write down, students, if I'm not mistaken, you can effectively have car tenders after the target is satisfied. After the target is satisfied, because, students, if you observe, when the target is satisfied, you can keep the additional car that you have in auctions. You can sell it through auctions, electronic auctions. So that is also one opportunity that is there, if I am not mistaken. So it will be very transparent also. And another thing, students, there can be, in case there can be threats due to price becoming more transparent. Example, students, online platforms emerging, to sell cars, to another person. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? Can there be a situation where online sales can effectively come, students? Online platform, high level chances are there that will be a bigger issue for the people. And then, students, I wish I sold used car. That is another point they are saying. Now, in this case, I sell new cars but I wish I could sell cars used instead. It is easier to negotiate sales on used car because no two used cars are the same. That is true. So students here also they are telling about the price variation. They are effectively saying students that when you are going to sell a car, you can go for a bargain. The reason is there is a trade in value and effectively the margins are not controlled. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, just to keep you updated, I'll just write down one more thing as well. Another threat that can emerge is students second hand market forming where there are better prices, as well because that can be offered also in the future. And students, for us the opportunities is have a separate page for trading second-hand cars in the website. That is very, 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 very important. I believe that everyone has got that clarity properly, students. Second-hand cars can be sold in the website as well. Now, students, if I'm not mistaken, what I have to go is friends and rivals. Now, if you see this article which relates to friends and rival again, there is an issue between inter-departments. Students, can you remember we went through the hierarchy? So if you see students, every department or every dealership have their target. So there will be dysfunctional behavior. So I'll just write down here, students, one threat that can happen is dysfunctional behavior within the staffs. Employee conflict can start. Dysfunctional behavior between the staffs, and I'll write down here employee conflict. Employee conflict can start. That is one thing that can happen in the future. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, to make it even very, very clear for you all, there can be situations where staff performance measurement, that is bonus, everything will get affected. Staff performance measurement may get affected, what, students? Affected. I believe that everyone has got that clarity. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are fine with that? Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, students. Now, students, if you observe, these are the factors that we effectively saw in our precinct. Okay, these are the effective thing. In the blogs, everything is there. So emergence has become very strong, and now we are going through this. So students, just to patch this work up, what we are effectively going to do is we will just fill in the blanks of the strength and weaknesses, what we know. So I will effectively start doing this because if you observe, students, you have to have an understanding of where you are standing in your organization. When you have that understanding, it will be very, very easy. So I'll just do a quick recap. The strength is very easy. Founded in 1964. Okay, and listed in, if I'm not mistaken, 1998. So students, can I write down here very strong reputation due to very much old incorporation, because it's very old incorporation. So students, they have registered it long time ago, and I can also say customer base is high. Customer base, in simple language, students, loyal customers may be there. In case if someone buys a car and then if they are giving a very good service, there is high chance that there will be loyal customer base there. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are getting that point of view, students? Thank you. Thank you very much, students. And then, students, if I'm not mistaken, we effectively have 214 dealership. We effectively have how many dealership, students? 214 dealership. And that is also very, very clear for you all. Can I get a confirmation there? Because that is very, 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 very important for our organization. And we have 25,000 staffs. We have 25,000 staffs also. So that is also one major important thing at the moment. Students. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And then students, if I am not mistaken, just to make your life even very easier for you all to understand. So we have 17 Bata Motor dealerships. So I'll write down here. We have 17. The one of the Bata Motor is one thing, a very strong product. So we have 17 Bata Motor leadership, and out of that, two more Limo Lux is also there. So these are exclusive motors what we effectively have at the moment for your understanding. And then students, just to make sure our organization structure is fine, because we have a very good organization structure, locations are very good, everything looks very fine as well. And then students, if I'm not mistaken, we also have data analysis, but I don't think we are exploiting the data analysis very well. The reason is, I'll just write down here, no evidence on customer relationship marketing. So I'll write down here, no evidence on what, students? Customer relationship marketing. Customer relationship, what, students? Marketing. No evidence on customer relationship marketing. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you got that point of view very clearly? Because we do not have any relationship marketing, although we say we have data analysis center, everything we have it. And also students, if I'm not mistaken, we have fleet leasing also. So fleet leasing service is also there with this dealership. And also students, we have part servicing. That is one more thing, part and servicing. And then students, insurance also we have, if I'm not mistaken, we give insurance and warranty also for your understanding. So if you observe, we are effectively doing very, very, very well comparatively, if I'm not mistaken. And our sales executive all are properly trained. We have a good positioning effect in the market, online sales, everything. Yeah. So Douglas, you have raised your hands, I think. Yeah.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I wanted to ask on the organizational structure. You mentioned that we may have a strong organizational structure. So I wanted to find out on our structure, because looking on the diagram on the
No,
pre-scene.
no, I'm not talking about that. That is the management structure. I'm telling the organization structure means we are effectively having the dealership principal, sales manager and sales executive, business manager, service advisors as per the industry. Is that clear?
Okay.
Because that is the organized, because we have 214 dealership, and all the 214 dealership has been properly streamlined with this standard. Is that fine, Douglas?
Yeah, I understand now.
Thank you. So students, I believe that is what I am talking here, because just get that clarity. And if you have any doubts, thank you, Douglas, for asking it. If you have any doubts, you need to take responsibility and please ask students. I'm always there to give you the solutions, what you are expected to give in the examination as well. So students, coming forward, just to give you things very easy for you to understand. So these are the things that we have. And then students, if I am not mistaken, another thing, students, in the country, we have something called Mancast, if I'm not mistaken. Mancast or Mancast Auto, if I'm not mistaken. And then students, I'll just write down the other name, Co-Power. Now, these thing, I don't know why we don't have any direct relationship, if I'm not mistaken. And students, we have something called Wind Vashe. So the question what I am asking in this case is, why don't we have all these factors considered in this? So this is one important thing that you have to keep in mind so that you will understand where you have to keep your positioning. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are getting that ideology there, students? Because these automobiles, we don't know what is happening, right, students? We don't know. They are a big brand, but still I don't think they are having any issues with that also. So these are the fundamental things that we have observed. And one more thread, students, The manufacturer can start their retail online store. The manufacturer can start online store, can start online store. Can that happen? It happened in India. Apple started their own online store. People are directly buying from Apple now instead of buying from the retailers. I believe everyone is aware about that factor for your understanding, because that is one crucial factor that you have to keep in mind so that you will get the idea and understanding very, very, very clear, if I'm not mistaken. So students, if you observe, these are the main fundamental things that we have analyzed at the moment. This is where our organization is standing at the moment. And you have to understand that Miltro, if I'm not mistaken, our competitor's name is Miltro. I'll just take a look at that because I want to do the calculation session in the next class so that you will be even more concentrating well. But I just give you idea of Miltro motor. So I just forget about it. So one opportunity, just as usual, I write down merge with Miltro. Merge with what, students? Miltro. There can be answers. Merge with Miltro. Or another opportunity is Miltro merging with a manufacturer. Miltro merging with, if I'm not mistaken, students, if Miltro merge with Bata Motors, can that happen, students? Can that happen, students? Miltro becoming a partner of Bata Motors. Can that also happen? There are possible chances. Anything can happen in business. Business is always a mystery. You don't know what will happen next. That is only known as business. So these are the fundamental factors that you have to get it understandable at the moment. Yes, Mr. Firdaus.
Sir, what is the main difference between courtesy car and demonstration car
Yeah.
in the
Now
opportunity that
demonstration.
you have read?
Yeah. Now if you observe, the demonstration word itself is very clear. A car that is used to explain to the customer. Demonstration. How the engine is working. You can do a test run. That is demonstration. But when it comes to courtesy means, students, you are giving it on a goodwill to the customer. Example, if your car is for an annual service, if it is taking 8 hours, or your car has to be kept on order, in that time, you will get another spare car given by the dealer for about a 1 day, 2 day span until your car is ready. That is courtesy car. Are you clear with that?
Got it, sir.
Thank you. So students, that is the ideology between courtesy car and demonstrator car. And thank you for asking that, students. One thing I think I quickly have to say. Now here they are telling one thing. Now the car broke down before I had even reached home. I complained to the sales executive and was told that workshop always give priority to paid service and repairs rather than preparing car for sale. So one more thing, students, if I'm not mistaken, customers complaints with regards to service segmentation. With regards to service segmentation, can you discriminate customers? Of course, you can discriminate customers, but there can be a lot of consequences of discriminating customers. Do you agree with me, students? Can I get a confirmation there, students? Because they are telling that they will always give first priority to the customers who are effectively paying money, and then only they will give second priority for the other cars. Can I get a confirmation there, students? That's also a big threat that we will be effectively facing, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that everyone has got the understanding properly there. And now, students, I just want to go for a quick area of business ecosystem. It's a E2 area, which I always cover when I do any case study, so that you have to understand how the environment operates. Now, students, this is more related to a game theory, but I will make it very, very easy for you to understand. Now, students, I'll just prepare the matrix for you all so that it is very, very easy. So if you observe, I'll just go more in detail. So we have one thing called complexity. We have one thing called what, students? Complexity. complexity. And then we have one more thing called orchestration. One is complexity and the other one is what, students? Orchestration. So initially, I will explain you what is the ideology between complexity and orchestration. And if you see, we say it as low orchestration, high orchestration, low complexity, and what is this, students? High complexity. So students, in this case, I believe that everyone has got the clarity behind this ideology of what is orchestration and what is complexity. So I'll just guide you how that is works. Now, first thing, students, is called complexity. The term itself is very clear. Complexity means, in simple language, we say it is very complex. So in simple, say hardness, or the other technical term is rigidity. What is the other technical term, students? Rigidity, hardness, rigidity, or in other words, difficulty. What is that, students? Difficulty. Now, that is only known as complexity, difficulty. Now, if we say this in the legal environment, that is only known as complexity. Example, students, if I say license. Now, if I'm not mistaken, students, if you want to start a simple question, if you want to start an aeroplane manufacturing company, it's not easy to get the license, very tough. That's why in this world, aeroplane manufacturers, there are only two. Even after globalization, we have Boeing and Airbus. The reason is that industry is highly complex, not easy to get the license. Another business is weapon business. You can't go to the business registration and start manufacturing weapons, dynamite, everything, because the legal environment is complex. Another one is tobacco and cigarettes. Now, students, if you see tobacco and cigarettes and alcohol, students, you can't just sell as you like. You can't just start a tobacco shop or alcohol store like you are effectively starting a tea stall. So very high complexity. Another example I can say university. It's not easy to start a university. Complexity is very high. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are clear with that concept of what is complexity? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Then the other one, students, if I'm not mistaken, we call it as orchestration. Orchestration means, students, a simple language, we call it as syndicate. A simple word for orchestration, we call it as what, students? Syndicate. Another term for syndicate is union. Another term for syndicate or union, if I'm not mistaken, is cartel. These are cartel within the competitors, union within the competitors. Example, students, if I am not mistaken, I will give you an idea how the competitors unite together. Pepsi and Coke. Now, students, Pepsi and Coke are rivals. We all know. But students, the MRP for Pepsi is 50 rupees, means Coca-Cola also will be the same. Another example is Pizza Hut and Domino's. If you see Pizza Hut and Domino's, students, whatever said and done, they will be selling different products, but the price will be the same, if I'm not mistaken. Another example I can give you so that it will be even easier for you all to understand. If I'm not mistaken, students, it can be, students, McDonald's and Burger King. Now you see McDonald's and Burger King, students, again, the price looks the same. Are you understanding what I'm saying there, students? The price look effectively the same. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are clear with this? If you are clear with this, can I get a confirmation? That is unionship. They are competing with each other, but effectively they are making sure their prices remain same. A classic example is Netflix and Amazon Prime. Now, see, students, Netflix and Amazon Prime are competitors. We already know that. But still, students, Amazon Prime and Netflix is effectively competing in a healthy manner. So that is the idea of complexity and orchestration. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box if you are clear with that? Complexity and orchestration. Thank you. Now, initially, let's do the mapping and understand this concept clearly. Now, it's very difficult to start a business because very difficult to get the license. And the market participants, the competitors are very united. That means they will not allow a third party to come inside. So this industry, we call it as lion's pride. This industry is called what pride? Lion's pride. Example, oil and gas. Now, if you see students, oil and gas, it's only the OPEC countries. I think if you see these OPEC countries, the Middle Eastern countries, they are very rich because they have formed an ecosystem where they will only sell oil and gas. There won't be any price war between them. They will be always united. And their government will not allow another country like Yemen to come and trade. Somewhat they will try to make that other country struggle. So that is known as lion's pride. Another example is students Boeing and Airbus. Now, if you see Boeing and Airbus, again, it's a lion's pride. The reason is it's very difficult to get the license for aeroplane manufacturing. It's very difficult to get the license for aeroplane manufacturing. I believe that is giving you a lot of practical sense there. Can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are able to understand that point of view? Excellent. Thank you very much, students. Thank you very much, students. Now, if you observe the next point of view, it's nothing to get worried. If you observe the next point of view, that is, if you see students, the other end. Now, first we studied high and high. Now let's go to the low and low. No legal compliance. You can easily start. Government is not bothered. And the second thing is no unity also. Anyone can do anything. So this industry, we call it as a shark tank, a red industry. You should never go into a shark tank industry because if you enter a shark tank industry, the tank will be bleeding, full of blood. We call it as the red ocean, full of blood. Blood will be leaking everywhere. Blood will be leaking everywhere. So example is farmers. Now students, you see farmers. You can start farming in your house if you have some bare land. Government will never come and ask, why are you doing agriculture? And you can sell it at any price. Sometimes you can sell it at free also. So effectively, the main reason why Asia, especially the SAARC countries, the South Asian countries, whose main natural resource is agriculture, failed is the government didn't control it. But if you go to countries like Canada, Germany, United Kingdom, or USA or Australia, their farmers are completely better off than our farmers. Students, can I quickly get a confirmation from you if you understood that concept of Shark Tank, students? It's very, very practical. And another industry, I'll just tell you, taxi drivers. Now, students, you observe the taxi drivers. Do you agree, students? Anyone who have a basic driving license can start taxi driver service. Again, taxi driving industry is highly affected. Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are getting that clarity behind that? Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, the next thing, students, I am going to come to the thing is complexity is very low. Government is not very serious because oil and gas, Boeing, Airbus, and another industry is pharmacy. Students, pharmaceutical, can you remember vaccine business was a super business? Can you all remember that, students? During the pandemic time, the vaccine industry made billions of money within a short period of time. Very clean industry. Oil and gas, these things. And in simple language, this we call it as the STEM. Have you heard STEM, students? What does STEM stands for? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, right, students, if I'm not mistaken? So these industries are the STEM industry, if I'm not mistaken. They innovate a lot of things. Now you observe here, government is not much curious. You can start business, not difficult. But it's very difficult to survive because of the unity. Can I give you this name for this industry is Wolfgang. What is the name for this industry, students? Wolfgang industry. So if you observe a Wolfgang industry, students, what effectively happens is the competitors are united, but they won't allow Pepsi, Coke. Do you have a competitor for Pepsi and Coke? The third player, some may say thumbs up, but they are not a competitor who can directly compete with these two. If I ask you a question for Pizza Hut and Domino's, do they have a common competitor for those two? Never, because you have never seen a direct competitor for Pizza Hut and Domino's, because they will not allow them to join. So that we call it as Wolfgang. Microsoft and Apple, Wolfgang. Microsoft software and Apple software may be competitors, but Linux is not at all considered as a competitor because it's out of the market. Now, you better understand what is Wolfgang very, very well. So, Wolfgang students, I'll give you an idea, Pepsi and Coke. You can start a cola company. Government will give you the license. Very easy. Not like alcohol business. Very easy. But it's very difficult to operate because these guys will do a lot of politics in between. The next one. Complexity is very high, but the unity is not much. Unity is not much. So we call it as the hornet nest. What is this called as? Hornet nest. Now, students, if you observe the hornet nest, it's not so complicated. Hornet nest is not so complicated. So if I'm not mistaken, I will just come with the explanation properly. Now, if you see hornet nest students, an example is university. Now, students, if you see, Harvard University is not bothered what is happening in what students? Cambridge. Correct, no, students, if I'm not mistaken. Is Harvard bothered about Cambridge? No, no, students. Cambridge is doing a different curriculum and they are not even having any direct relationship. Or another industry or another company is IIM. Do you think Harvard is bothered what is happening in IIM? Actually, no, because they are not at all having any orchestration between each other. So it's very difficult to start a university, but there is no tightness, if I'm not mistaken. I believe everyone has got that ideology very, very, very clearly because the complexity is very high, but the orchestration is not so high. Another example I can say is entertainment industry. Now, students, you see entertainment industry, any entertainment, not easy. They have censorship. Government checks the movie scripts. They will check the censorship. Any violence is there. And based on that, they will give. But to entertainment industry, Fox News and CNN are not focusing as competitors. Fox News is different and CNN is different. I believe that everyone has got that clarity of hornet nest. So these are the four categories of business sectors that operates. And the best business sector is the lion's pride. So students, I believe everyone has got the understanding. Now I am going to come to a question. The first question that I'm going to make sure is, where does Cuppcar falls? That is the first question I have to ask. Where does Cuppcar falls? Students waiting for your response. Where does Cuppcar falls? Wolfgang, Lion's Pride, Hornet Nest, or Shark Tank, or in between something. Frankly, it's not a Lion's Pride. Correct, no, students? Frankly, it's not a Lion's Pride. Kin is saying it's a wolf gang. It's a wolf gang. But about a hornet nest, no one is saying. But it's not a Shark Tank as well. So can I effectively say, I go with Kin's answer. Can I say Cuppcar is a wolf gang with Miltro Motors? I'll tell you one thing, students. I'll tell you why. Because these dealers, what they have formed a good alliances, if I'm not mistaken, between these two. There are many dealers in the market, but still these two people are having a very strong dominance because of their local emergence and the location strength they have. So Cuppcar and Miltro have this. So can I quickly get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students, if you are clear with Cuppcar and the Miltro Motors point of view? I think the answer given by Kin is perfectly correct. Excellent, Kin. Really appreciate. But the thing, the possibilities in the future, can this end up into a Shark Tank because of online? Because students, there is an emergence, there is a online stores are growing up day by day. So in that case, can there be a situation this can end up into these students? Can there be chances that this can end up into a Shark Tank? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? Can this effectively end up as a Shark Tank? I believe it is very, very practical for you all, very, very practical for you all at the moment. It can end up as a Shark Tank also, possible chances. Now, students, let's come into the understanding. So currently the orchestration is very important. They have to have this idea. So this is the basic aspect of our industry. Now, given that we only sell two brands, we may move to the alignments with other brand. Of course, there can be a trigger like that. I completely agree with you, Douglas. That is perfectly correct. The challenge what we effectively face is if we are moving forward to another entity, will there be any resistance? Look at the verb I am using, students. Can there be any resistance coming from our enterprise? There can be chances of that as well, right, students? Can I get a double Y in the chat box, students, if you are getting that aspect properly? Can there be a chance that can happen like that, students? Can I get a confirmation from you all in the chat box, students? Because I want to get that ideology. Thank you, Syed. Thank you, Sridevi, everyone. So a quick recap. This is a great summary what we have done. We only need to do the calculations. Once the calculations are over, we can do the theory and the question, theory and the question, theory and the question. So students, if I'm not mistaken, let's come into the detailed application so that you will understand. So you know where we are standing. Just remember we have subdivisional activities, not only dealership. We sell the used car and the new cars, and then we have the fleet leasing services, if I'm not mistaken. So those factors that is there for your understanding and application. So I believe that is giving you more clarity there. And I think it's very easy for you to understand all those things. And these were the biggest challenge that we were effectively seeing, that the online market can come and the electric cars. Now, electric car students may come, if I'm not mistaken, we don't know. And instead of cars, we can effectively go into other sectors like trucks, like motorbikes. Those things are also possible, right, students, if I'm not mistaken? So that is also one aspect that we can keep an eye on. But we are being very much filtered to this only. So students, yeah, definitely can happen. Thank you. So students, I'll come to the one-to-one discussion. So firstly, I'll start in the alphabetical order. If you have any questions, please unmute or you can use the chat box. And if you don't have any questions, I'm requesting you to please put a Y in the chat box. So Douglas, any questions for the day? Mr. Farhan, any questions for the day? Ms. Kinmin, any questions for the day? Mr. Ferdaus, any questions for the day? Mr. Saeed, any questions for the day? Mr. Sridevi, Ms. Sridevi, any questions for the day? Thank you. Thank you very much, students. And I told you, be confident every day, manifest yourself that I will pass, I will pass, I will pass. Make your mind very much positive, and it will effectively yield a positive result. And always think that your exam result has already taken place. Tell to yourself, I have already passed this exam. Put it into your mind and go to the exam. You will effectively pass. Take out the fear, have the confidence. So I will meet you up on the Tuesday class with all the ratio calculations we will do together. And I will already explain what are the things. And from Thursday onwards, we can effectively start working on the question practice and the theory discussion. So students, if you do not mind, let's meet up in the next class. Thank you very much for your wonderful contribution. Take care, students. Good night, everyone.